We all know about the Wall, the Seven Kingdoms, King's Landing, the Free Cities. However, the map of the Game of Thrones is much larger than that. I am not just talking about the continent of Essos, where Daenerys became the mother of dragons in, because if we go further east, there is the nation of Yi Ti, inspired by China of our own world. In fact, we even know of a different continent named Ulthos, which sits on the furthest edge of the known world. It's not just the east though, as up in the north there are rumors of ice dragons, while in Sothoryos there live creatures that even Targaryen dragons were afraid of. And don't get me started on what's west of Westeros. So today I will go over every mysterious or unknown location in the entire world of Ice and Fire. First, beginning with the Summer Isles, which is the closest known civilized place next to Sothoryos. The people here are seafarers whose ships are faster than even the ones built by the Iron Islanders, and their arrows are strong enough to pierce plate armor. The weirdest thing about the Summer Isles is how they don't consider sex to be taboo. In fact, prostitution is seen as a respectable profession there. Many slavers raid these lands, and girls have even ended up in King's Landing. Tyrion was about to meet one of them before finding Shay in the books. One of the princes of the Summer Isles, Jalabahar Sho, even lived in the Red Keep, begging Robert Baratheon for military aid to retake his principality. Grey Worm is actually supposed to be from the Summer Isles in the TV show, and his lover Missandei is from the island of Naath right next door. The people of Naath are extremely peaceful as they worship a god of harmony. They are against all forms of violence, even choosing not to fight against much of the slavers that often attack this peaceful culture. If we move a bit north, we find ourselves in the ruins of Old Valyria, the capital city of the Valyrian freehold for 5,000 years. However, after the volcanic eruption known as the Doom, which wiped out almost all the dragons, this region was transformed into the Smoking Sea. Here, the water is said to be bubbling and lets off foul vapors and mists which can kill sailors outright. This land is considered cursed and haunted by many. In fact, people choose to take wide detours to avoid these waters. This is likely due to Old Valyria practicing blood magic and committing all sorts of taboos, which likely was the main reason for the Doom to even occur. Only stone men reside in the ruins of this once great civilization. But on the northern end of Essos, there was another civilization of tall men, which was also wiped out during the Century of Blood following the Doom. Not by volcanoes, but by Dothrakis. Sarnor was an ancient kingdom centered around the great river Sarne and its tributaries, and some of the lake remnants of the Silver Sea. By the time recorded history began, the Sarnori had established a series of city-states along the Sarn River and become well known for using chariot teams in battle. 5,000 years ago, after Valyria tamed the dragons, they were too busy with their own quarrels to conquer Sarnor. However, after the Doom, the Sarnori kingdoms took less than a century to fall because its kings fought internal battles and never united against the growing threat of Dothrakis. The tall men did not realize the danger until Khal Moro attacked the gates of Sothar and burned it down. The Sarnori cities fell to new Khals who sought to outdo one another in conquest. Much of the tall men's history was lost with the burning of Shalosh and its great library. The only Sarnori city to survive until the present day is Sarnath, which was supported by the even mysterious men of Ib. This island nation sits on the Shivering Sea. In this remote location and harsh living conditions, the local Ibonese are a hardy folk who maintain a large fleet of whaling ships which spreads far across the world's oceans. They are similar to the Inuit people of our own world, who have adapted to the cold. However, they are said to be very hairy. Mammoths are also said to exist on the island as well. Its size is about as large as Dorne, and if we go further east, things get weirder in the Shivering Sea, as we end up on the Thousand Islands. These are a sea grit scatter of bleak and windswept rocks, and some Ibbenese cartographers even claim that there are only 300 islands. Now, you would think that with so many islands around, the fish must be delicious, right? Nope. They are oddly misshapen with a bitter and unpleasant taste. The people in these lands aren't so different though, as they are complete xenophobes and hate strangers. They are hairless with green-tinged skin. Females file their teeth into sharp points, and males slice the foreskins of their members. The islanders speak an unknown tongue and are said to sacrifice sailors to squamos, fish-headed gods. There is a theory that their civilization became submerged in the sea due to rising sea levels. That's why they fear the water so much that they don't even step foot in it. Corlys Velaryon actually sailed to the Thousand Islands but quickly sailed away, which might have been wise because the Shivering Sea is one of the most dangerous places in the entire world. First, there are these whales called leviathans, which are the largest known creatures, even bigger than dragons. Some are said to be large as islets. There are also myths about lights shimmering in the sky here, where the demon mother of the ice giants dances through the night, but this might just be the aurora lights being misinterpreted by weary sailors. Here, ships enter only to notice the sea freeze behind them. Legend claims that some of the 1,000 ships entombed there are inhabited by descendants of the original crews, who survive by feasting on the flesh of the newly trapped sailors. Other stories mention pale blue mists moving across the waters. They are so cold that they freeze any ship they pass over. Then, drowned spirits are said to rise at night to drag the living down into the depths. Mermaids are also present here, said to have pale flesh and black-scaled tails. Unlike the mermaid legends of them helping humans we hear near Westeros and in the southern seas, the mermaids in the Shivering Sea are threatening to humans. If you think mermaids was crazy, then let me tell you about the ice dragons who roam the Shivering Sea and the White Waste, which is a region even further north, basically the polar ice caps. These ice dragons are way larger than dragons of Valyria and are made of living ice. They have massive translucent wings and can breathe cold. At the most eastern coast of the Shivering Sea, we find Mosovi. It is a cold and dark land of shape changers and demon hunters, suggesting that the lands even further east are much more attuned with magic than the known world, which makes sense why the regions south of Mosovi has so many legends of weird races. If we go further from the Grey Waste Desert and Cannibal Sands, there is Bone Town, which is a city made entirely of bones, and they trade bones. That's why it's called Bone Town. And these bones that they trade, they likely collect from the Dry Deep, a canyon that runs east to west, where strange aged bones are found. Southeast from here are the cities of the Bloodless Men, whose inhabitants are said to be a race of bloodless men. Who would have thought? This is great naming, bro. A bit to the west is the Bleeding Sea, which is said to be blood red due to a certain plant that blooms there. There is also the city of the Winged Men that resides on the coast of the Hidden Sea. Its inhabitants are said to have leather wings and to be able to fly like eagles. On the southeastern shore of the Hidden Sea lies the city of Carcosa, which is ruled by the Sorcerer Lord. Finally, we move to one of the most magical places in all of Game of Thrones. At the southeastern tip of Essos lies the infamous city of Asshai. First, Asshai is enormous in size. It sprawls for leagues on both sides of the Ash River, and its high walls and temples could enclose Volantis, Hearth, King's Landing, and Old Town combined. However, it's mostly empty. Its population is said to be no more than a small market towns. At night, maybe 1 in 10 buildings show a light. Why? Well, because because Asshai is horribly toxic or even haunted. Everything there is made of a strange black stone that drinks light. The Ash River that runs through Asshai also glitters black in daylight and glows green at night from some phosphorescence. Its waters are so poisoned that fish in it are blind and deformed, and any animal that enters the city dies shortly after. Even fresh water and food cannot be sourced locally. Drinking local water or fish is described as something only a fool or a shadowbinder would, which are the mysterious practitioners of Ashai's magic. Melisandre is one of these shadowbinders. They wear red lacerated masks like Quaithe and supposedly traffic in the darkest arts. In Asshai, no sorcery is forbidden, as blood magic, necromancy, fire magic, shadow binding, all of them are practiced openly. The people of Asshai are described as dark, solemn, and often seen covered head to toe with veils or masks even in daytime. There are no children in Asshai because none can survive there after birth. It's said that even the Dothraki, who fear nothing, fear Asshai and call its people spawn of the shadows. Asshai is not completely isolated though, as it's a port and trading ships go there. They bring food and fresh water and take away Ashai's chief exports of amber, dragonglass, and weirdly lots of gold and gemstones. However, those who handle Ashai's gold say it's cursed. Now beyond Asshai is the even more mysterious Shadowlands. East of Asshai is said to be a place of perpetual darkness. There, ghost grass grows in fields which is ashen white and glows in the dark while choking out other plants. The Shadowlands supposedly has dragons and demons in the caves of the mountain. In fact, one Asshai tale claims dragons were actually born in the shadow, that the first dragon lords were not Valyrian, but some nameless people in the Shadowlands who tamed dragons first. Some in the community even theorize that the Valyrians got the dragon eggs or knowledge from Asshai. In the books, we know that the Dragonbinder horn came from a sorcerer in Asshai via Euron's story. So it tracks that if any place outside Valyria had dragons, it's Asshai. They literally worship a Lord of Light who shows visions in flames and talk of a hero, Azor Ahai, who forged Lightbringer in Asshai by sacrificing his wife. One more terrifying location in the Shadowlands is Stygai, the corpse city, where even Shadowbinders are afraid to go near it. Through its name, I think it's a location that has a lot to do with the afterlife and maybe even demons. Moving to the west of Asshai is the Golden Empire of Yi Ti, where things start to feel like a mythical version of ancient China. Yi Ti is huge, old, and wealthy beyond measure. It was already ancient when the Valyrians were still shepherds. It's ruled by a god emperor. They have so many cities that their own lore says every Yiddish city has 3 older cities buried beneath it, which likely suggests a higher population than even Westeros. However, right now, Yi Ti is in a bit of a political mess. The empire has had dozens of dynasties over 8,000 years. Currently, the Azure Emperor sits on the throne in the capital Yin, but there are 3 rival claimants who also call themselves emperor in other cities. So it's like a 3 kingdoms period in China with warlords and would-be emperors dividing the land. But even in decay, Yi Ti is loaded. Their princes live in houses of solid gold and eat sweetmeats powdered with pearls and jade. Yi Ti exports silk, saffron, and spices that end up as far as Westeros. 2 major deities of Yi Ti are the Lion of Night and the Maiden Maid of Light. Their son, according to legend, was the first god emperor. Yi folklore says that their civilization was preceded by a far greater one, the Great Empire of the Dawn. According to Yiddish records, all the lands between the Jade Sea and the Shivering Sea from the bones of the Great Waste once formed the Great Empire of the Dawn under the God on Earth. This empire was ruled by a dynasty of god emperors with gemstone titles. After the God on Earth ascended to the heavens, his descendants ruled as the Pearl Emperor, Jade Emperor, Onyx Emperor, and so on, each supposedly reigning for centuries. As the generations passed, they say these emperors grew wicked and corrupt, and their reigns shortened accordingly. The last was the Amethyst Empress, who was betrayed and slain by her younger brother, the Bloodstone Emperor. The legend says he usurped the throne, practiced dark arts, worshipped a black stone like the one in Asshai that fell from the sky, and stopped honoring the traditional gods. This blood betrayal ushered in doom, where the Maiden Made of Light turned her face from the world in despair. The Lion of Night unleashed demons, and the Long Night fell upon mankind. Yes, the Long Night myth exists here too. In Yi-Ti's story, the sun hid for a generation as punishment, until finally daylight returned. The Great Empire of Dawn had collapsed by then, descending into chaos and shadow. In Yi-Ti, there is a further legend that the Long Night ended thanks to the deeds of a woman with a monkey's tail. After the Long Night, Yi-Ti considers its civilization as the Golden Empire. One of the Yellow Emperors married a Valyrian princess and even kept a dragon at his court. Yi-Ti is home to dark cults like the Church of the Starry Wisdom, which legend says was founded by the Bloodstone himself. This cult still pops up in ports around the world, recruiting curious souls to worship a creepy black meteorite. Geographically, Yi-Ti's borders are mysterious too. To its northeast stand the colossal 5 forts guarding the Grey Waste. These fortresses are one of the most intriguing things in the Far East. Each of the 5 forts is a massive castle with fused black stone walls 1,000 feet high. They are so old they predate even the Golden Empire of Yi-Ti. Some suggest that they were built by the Pearl Emperor during the Great Empire of Dawn to keep something at bay. Essentially, the 5 forts are like a eastern wall. Their inhuman size and black stone give credence to the idea that they were built with magic or advanced methods. Each fort can garrison 10,000 men, and indeed, currently they're manned to defend Yi-Ti from the raiders out of the Grey Waste to the northeast. There is a theory that while Westeros had the wall to stop the White Walkers, Essos had the 5 forts to stop something similar coming from the uttermost east or north. Beyond Yi-Ti's southern shores lies the Isle of Leng, a place that could have a whole Lovecraft novel dedicated to it. Leng is a huge tropical island full of dense forests and jungles. It's famed for spices, gemstones, and exotic wildlife of over 10,000 tigers and 10 million monkeys, according to one traveler. There are giant apes as well, almost as smart as humans, and hooded apes as big as giants. The island's population, though, is split. The north is colonized by Yi-Ti, while the south is home to the native Leng. The Leng are said to be the tallest humans in the world, many over 7 feet. They have their own distinct culture and formerly had their own dynastic god empresses. In fact, the Empress of Leng is such a big deal that even Yi-Ti, when they occupied the island, allowed Leng to keep its own empress. For the last 400 years, Leng threw off Yi-Ti's direct rule, and the tradition now is that each Empress of Leng takes 2 husbands, one Lengi, one Yiddish, to symbolize unity. One commands the armies and the others the fleet. Now, what makes Leng truly freaky are the ruins deep in the jungle. They are strange ancient cities with massive massive stone structures overgrown by vine. The buildings are huge and megalithic, and beneath them lies endless labyrinths of tunnels and vast subterranean chambers. No one knows who built these or when. The Lengi claim that they were already there when their ancestors came to the island. Some say these ruins are remnants of an extinct people or something not human. Those who venture too deep into the underground often return mad. The Lengi outright forbid entering these ruins under penalty of death because the old ones dwell beneath the island. The story goes that in the past, whenever ET or other foreigners started poking around too much, the Empress would get instructions from the old ones below to massacre all foreigners in the island. During the ET occupation, one emperor, Jarhar, got so fed up with those spooky massacres that he sealed all the underground entrances with heavy stone. After that and ET's colonization of the north, the killings stopped, but no one has been allowed to reopen those tunnels since. Moving to the southernmost point of the known world, we have the continent of Sothoryos, which is similar to Africa in our own world. It lies across the Summer Sea, south of Valyria and the Jade Sea. Sothoryos is huge, likely larger than Essos itself. The northern coast of Sothoryos has seen some colonization attempts, all ending badly though. The ancient Gishgari established outposts like Zametar, Gorosh, and Gogosos. The Valyrians later took over some and turned one into a horror city of Gogosos known as the Empire of Tears. That place was a slave colony where Valyrian nobles committed atrocities by breeding slaves with beasts, mass torture, blood sorcery. It became so vile that after the Doom, the Iron Men pirates and others sacked it and left it a smoking ruin. There's also the Basilisk Isles off Sothoryos' north coast, named for their venomous basilisks that inhabit them. These islands, like the Isle of Toads, Skull Isle, Basilisk Point on the mainland, long served as havens for pirates, slavers, and exiles. Nowadays, the Basilisk Isles are ruled by corsair kings and lawless sell sails who prey on ships. They'll attack Ibonese whalers, summer islander traders, even ships from as far as Volantis or Old Town if they venture too far south. The Isle of Toads also deserves a mention, which is named after a giant toad-shaped stone idol found on it, which is of course made of the same oily black stone we talked about in the forts of ET or Asshai. This black stone is all around the world of Ice and Fire, by the way, even in Old Town. And honestly, all the hints suggest that this shit is alien in origin, likely having fell on Earth from the heavens. Local rumor says that this toad statue was there since before the Dawn Age and was worshipped by whoever lived there originally. The people on the Isle of Toads supposedly had a frog-like aspect themselves, hinting that maybe they interbred with something inhuman or the idol somehow affected them. Now, the mainland of Southoryos is full of diseases and killer fauna. It's so bad that nearly every colony attempt failed due to pestilence. The most famous colonization was by Nymeria's Rhoynar people. After fleeing Valyria, Nymeria's fleet spent a while on Sothoryos' coast. They founded a city named Nysar on the ruin of Zametar. After a couple of years, they found the climate and disease intolerable. The brindled men or Sothori are the native humans of northern Sothoryos. They are called half men by some, described as massive, big boned with brute strength. Their thick skin is brindled with brown and white patterns, flat noses, and heavy jaws that make them look like a hog. They also allegedly cannot inbreed with other humans. Any pregnancies with outsider men result in stillbirths. Then there is Yin, which is an immense ruined city in the jungle on the Zamoyos River, made entirely of black stone, with blocks so large that it's hard to imagine how they were cut or moved. Yin is called older than time. The jungle has never reclaimed Yin, as plants won't grow on its black walls. Every attempt to resettle Yin ends in horror. The Gishgari all died of disease or attacks. The Rhoynar disappeared overnight. The city seems cursed, and people say that something evil lingers in Yin that does not tolerate human presence. Some other known animals on Sothoryos other than basilisks are wyverns. The Summer Islanders say that there are Gishgari spider-men in the far south of Sothoryos also. Explorers talk also of vampiric white bats big as dogs in the Green Hell region. One pirate said that he found a city of winged apes. The most legendary explorer of Sothoryos was of course Jaenera Baleris, a Valyrian dragon lord. She flew her dragon, Terax, south along Sothoryos' length for 3 years, trying to find the end of the continent. When she came back, she claimed Sothoryos was a land without end, and she saw only jungle, desert, and mountains. While we know quite a bit about the southern continent, we actually barely know anything about the continent of Ulthos in the far east of Essos. According to George R.R. Martin, Ulthos is supposed to stay a secret because to the people of Westeros, everything beyond Kar is a mystery. He even suggests that Ulthos might not be another continent, just an extension of Essos. Only thing we know about it is that an unnamed ruined city lies in the northern part of Ulthos. Perhaps this might have been the capital of the ancient Empire of Dawn and the real center of the world. The final mysterious location I want to discuss in the Song of Ice and Fire is of course the place west of Westeros. All maps of the known world end at the western shores of Westeros. Beyond that lies the Sunset Sea. All who have ventured towards it have never returned. The westernmost known island of the world is Lonely Light, home to the oddball house Farwind of the Iron Islands. Lonely Light is so far to the west that it takes 8 days of sailing beyond the main Iron Islands to reach it. The Lord of Lonely Light, Gilbert Farwind, often spoke of the land's west, saying that it is a paradise where all men and women live as kings and queens, where absolute freedom exists. It feels almost like how the Vikings spoke of Vinland back in the day. Now, while we will likely learn more about what's west of Westeros with the Arya Stark TV show, there was one bold noblewoman from House of Valyrian. Her name was Alyssa Farman, who actually tried to journey west nearly 300 years ago. To fund her voyage, Alyssa stole 3 dragon eggs from Dragonstone. She fled to Pentos and eventually sold the eggs to the Sea Lord of Braavos, likely providing the mysterious dragon eggs that would one day end up in Daenerys Targaryen's possession centuries later. Using the wealth from the stolen eggs, she commissioned a ship called Sun Chaser in Braavos and set sail westward into the uncharted Sunset Sea. Accompanied by 2 other ships, Lady Meredith and Dauntless, the Sun Chaser vanished beyond the horizon and was never seen again by Westerosi eyes. However, decades later, a descendant of the Dauntless's crew claimed to have turned back early, but he said that the Sun Chaser sailed on. Even more intriguingly, Corlys Velaryon would later say that while sailing around Yi Ti and Leng, he saw a ship in port that matched the description of Sun Chaser. If true, this would mean Alyssa had successfully circumnavigated the globe, which might mean that beyond the eastern point of Essos or Ulthos, there is just the Sunset Sea and Westeros. Thank you for watching this Game of Thrones video. If you guys want to learn about every single Targaryen in history, then watch the video on screen right here. I go through their entire history. It is batshit crazy.